Hi there. My name is Jerry Capizzuto from GodIsLoveTruthLife.com or GodIsLoveTruthFreedom.com because a life without freedom is not a life worth living. I am also pleased to announce that we are live streaming also on the NGT, excuse me, at Narrow NGT channel. So if you're checking us out on my channel, you can also watch the stream on there. And I'm also happy to welcome Lio back, as well as how to become the truemedia.com alum Ineka, who's taking the Equivalentics class with us. Welcome, Ineka and Lio.
Thank you.
Hey, great to be here. Hi.
Great to be here.
Awesome. And yeah, Ineka, what has the experience for the Equivalentics class been like for you so far?
Hey guys. Well, just first of all, thank you so much for letting me join you guys tonight. It's a really pleasure to be here. So I'm very new to Equivalentics, but it's been a couple of months when we started this journey where Jerry, you invited me, and Lio, where we got to meet. And, it really started with that initial conversation, when the three of us had a chance to like get to know each other a little bit even before the class started. It was like right off the top, just these amazing conversations and ideas and things that I had never really thought of in that way before. And now just a few short months later, I've taken I think 7 classes so far. And it's it's been it's been interesting, to say the least, because in some ways it can be very simple, but then again, it's like, what? At the same time, it's twisted, but in such a I'm so curious about it, and I just find myself wanting to learn more and more. So it's been a very positive experience, and it's really opening my mind up in ways that I never imagined.
Yeah, and this is not about a topic of where ideas are coming from, right? We're not here to convince anybody. We're here to just discuss good ideas. And Equivalentics, uh, as a sidebar, I haven't seen it, a lot of these concepts and topics talked about here, but nevertheless, I agree, it's been amazing. And um, Ineka, I spoke to you a little offline the other day about how you're starting to notice patterns in nature in general. You want to talk more about that?
Sure. So when we first started talking about some of the basic concepts that Leo teaches, um, and how it connects with nature, um, I remember saying in the class, like, I have to focus really hard to kind of see these patterns in nature with the golden ratio and number recognition and the way that nature evolves and grows, the building blocks of nature. And Leo said, "Well, yeah, you will have to focus pretty hard, and because we're not used to seeing things that way." But now I find, without any change in my schedule, I just still doing the same thing, taking the same walks, the same hikes. I almost notice like a vibration um in the air. um I've noticed, or sunlight looks a little bit different. um I think there was even, I think we shared once, I told you about some synchronistic experiences that have been happening. I forget the one in particular that I know I mentioned a few weeks ago. I'll have to try to think of it, but it's not like, you know, boom, right, that just right there, but in its subtle ways, it's making itself known, and I'm just more open to it, I think.
I love that. And Leo, would you say that there's any sort of causal or correlation, sort of relationship between the learning of equivalentics and the honing of light abilities?
Yeah, absolutely. But mostly remote viewing, because that's what Equivalentics is about. Remote viewing, recognizing patterns. There is a little bit touch on empaths and agents, and but it's the science of pattern recognition and patterns construction. When remote viewers, they actually see the breaks of the patterns in real life, but if they don't know how to recognize the pattern, then they don't really understand what is breaking. So while the other light abilities can do a lot without it, remote viewers, if they don't have an analyst that understands a little bit about patterns or equivalentics, they will have little to do with it.
Also, I'm thinking about the why of your sharing this sort of simplified quantum mechanics with humanity. And I'm thinking about the overarching Dunning-Kruger effect in humanity, where humanity is, uh, generally our species thinks that we're the smartest species around. We deny, the existence of others, um, and treat other sentient beings and ourselves like crap. And yeah, we just collectively stay in a state of willful ignorance and stupidity, really. And this idea of introducing different ways of recognizing and identifying, yeah, just patterns makes sense in breaking that Dunning-Kruger effect. What do you think? What do you guys think of this idea?
Yeah, I mean, the whole point about thinking that we are the top species, and I don't know if like we even really think about it externally like that, but through conversations and natural law, and when we realize there's so much more out there, besides ourselves, there's a vulnerability, but it feels very healthy. Um, it's almost a relief to know that we're not the only ones, and how silly it feels to think such a thing, and that there's so much more to learn, and that people and us thinking that we already know everything, that we now have a college degree and we've mastered life, we have a family, we have a house, we have a car, we have a job, a degree. Hey, but how can we all still feel empty, right? Because it's not true. It's an illusion. So yeah, to know that we're not the be all and end all, to me it's a relief. And I want to learn more.
I think that's my second agenda of teaching equivalentics. Actually, it's my main. The remote viewing stuff is secondary. I'm happy to help anyone, but it's um it's about teaching humanity um to get back something that it has lost. And I did have a conversation about it, like right very recently, that that science has become a religion because it used to be promoting testing everything and freedom of thought. And now it is acting like the church, basically canceling everyone that doesn't support the general notion of things.
Definitely. And I also think about how, you know, parts of equivalentics have been shared with academics, and the rest of humanity is not hearing about it because they don't want to ruin their institutional reputations. And, with any sort of new idea, regardless of provenance, you're going to get um, some sort of like uh, oppressive, controlling, projection that's going to come your way from people that refuse to grow and learn new things. And I think it's really beautiful what you guys are sharing, because it's like I've always there's always been this like inner child in me that's never wanted to stop learning. Like I've wanted to study everything, and I think if people can just tap into curious that curiosity that I think many of us are already born with. What do you guys think of this idea?
Um, I think you're right. And now what comes to mind that I can share that a lot of people come from is growing up that, and I don't know if you want to go this route in the conversation yet, but I just know like growing up, you know, I've always felt a strong sense of self, but there was so much oppression in a way that I didn't feel like I could learn, right? I wasn't successful in school. When I was young, I didn't have a lot of support at home and things like that. And so school was not a positive experience for me. And yet that's the place where you're supposed to learn. And it wasn't until college where I started to learn how to learn. And I started peeling off the masks as I got older and more confident. And that's when I started seeing my true self. And that's where the curiosity and the drive to try to learn as much as I can through experience and through whatever it is that, I wanted to study, whatever interested me. But that's like what you're saying now, that natural intrinsic desire to want to grow and learn happened for me, but it was later in life.
Leo, do you have anything to add about this concept of just sort of promoting a lifelong learning experience?
Not much. I support it. It's the way that you evolve.
Awesome. And, speaking of lifelong learning, before we started recording, we all noticed we all have teaching experience in a lot of ways. We've all taught young adults, we've taught adults, and you know, there's a lot that we could unpack in this topic, but I think going back to what you said, Enika, in your formative years, it sounds like because the environment that you were in was so controlling and oppressive, and that's very common for, like, for example, mainstream public schools. How are children able to tap into their sort of intrinsic desire to learn, their innate curiosity, if they're feeling like they have to be on the defensive all the time? And so how do we encourage real world skills? How do we encourage independent thinking, critical thinking, lifelong learning? What are our thoughts on this topic?
That's a big one, Jerry. Right? I mean, there's so many, and well, I think it starts in the home. And when that's not available, and depending on the severity, like of trauma, right? That's dealing with severe issues that affect the mind and that the process of learning. But in general, I know we've spoken many times about project-based learning and providing choice for students. As a public school educator myself, there's, a mutual respect and the way that we speak with children and talk with them and allow them to make mistakes, encourage it, and let them be themselves, let them have, their own, let them be a part. They should be a part of the learning. I mean, Leo has been, it's been so eye-opening for me, some of the points that he's made about, like kind of encouraging us to cheat. And I maybe he'll speak, more to that. But I know it sounds funny, but it's not. I mean, it's basically like common sense and not being so focused on the right answer, but just how we get to it, or vice versa, right? Getting to the right answer, and regardless how we get to it. And it just seems like that sort of approach, and being more open and current. And I think he's even talked about how in Florin they purposely make mistakes to give students the opportunity to point them out. And giving the students, that it builds confidence. And here we are again with the word confidence, and feeling like you can learn when they can point out that their teacher made a mistake. That can be very effective. So these little strategies that Leo's mentioned really hits home for me as an educator myself, in ways to support our young learners, and in the wanting to learn more, and be a part of their own learning.
So yeah, I can add that for us, cheating is very important because first of all, it's part of freedom, and this is something we're making sure we keep always. And the second thing that it is you're being taught a certain way to do stuff, but doesn't mean it's the right way. And you may be doing the same thing for like 50 years, and that's the way you do things. But if you don't allow others to cheat, or basically cheating is just a bad word for it, but it's finding a more efficient way to get to the same answer. And if we don't let people do that, then what's the point of even learning it? Like just to copy stuff? It's about finding new people to research better ways to do the same things we do. So if we can reach the result faster, then it means we can invest the same amount of resources to reach higher.
I love that. And by the way, please keep the questions going in the chat. We'll be speaking a little bit on a couple more subjects, and then we can just open up to just general chat questions. I also, wasn't intending on this, but just as a natural sort of flow in conversation, Leo, your civilization has had AI much longer than our society has. And it makes sense that there would be this sort of reversal sort of concept idea, sort of thinking when it comes to cheating, because it's like AI is available. And so how do we teach critical thinking? How do we teach efficiency to getting results in a landscape of AI and learning? Do you guys have any thoughts on that idea? Like, how do
Yeah,
we?
so basically, yeah, I tried to unmute myself. Basically, we have AI integrated, but since basically we invented it, we went through the process of understanding it slowly. And although we must agree that humanity took it further than we ever could, and but probably because they haven't gone through the process of creating it. So the idea is that AI taught us to do things not like a machine, because a machine can do things like a machine much better than you, because you are not a machine. So if you try to compete with AI on things that machine are supposed to do, you will lose every single time. So the whole point of having AI is for you to not have to do the things that machine is supposed to do. And then if you let the machine have its own realm, that machine does not care about doing the same things over and over again because it's a machine. You are bothered by it. You feel like a slave. You feel like you're being taken away your freedom. You're feeling like you're doing monotonic tasks that are not promoting creativity. But essentially, the fact that humans are demanding AI to be creative would be the same as AI would demand you to be monotonic.
That's funny. Ineka, do you have anything to add to this topic?
Okay, so about, getting past the point of cheating so that we can focus on things that we're meant to focus on, right? Like creativity. And allowing AI to be used for what it's meant to be used for, and then that frees up our ability, or it frees up our energy to focus on the things that we need to that we can focus on, right? But it's almost like, it's kind of funny because the students today in the classroom want to use AI, and I understand why, and to Leo's point, right? Um, but we're not ready for them to do that because we don't have anything else. We haven't lifted up yet. Does that make sense? So like I feel like the assignments and the learning focuses, the objectives that we have in place have not ascended, right? So we have the same 5, 8 paragraph essays of an argumentative essay or central idea essay. And now we have ninth graders that are moving in the direction of refining their writing. Now they have AI that can do that for them, but that's what we're supposed to be teaching them. So if AI takes that away from us, where we now have to we have to grow too. We have to learn, because that's kind of what we know. We have to get thinking a little more outside the box. Now, what can we offer our students, to, like you said, Leo, let the robot do what it does best, and let's use now their energy to tap into the creativity, which I think that's purposely being kept, right? Our imagination and creativity is dampened quite a bit. So that's really interesting what you said there, Leo. I like that.
Yeah, and also in thinking about like how do we apply these ideas now, it's like I think about how I developed as a writer, right? You do it through reading good books, you do it through creative projects. Like I didn't become a good writer necessarily through expository writing. I became a better writer through writing poetry and just having fun with it, and I think the more that we can encourage, we can fuse these ideas, right? Like, okay, if you want to eventually become a good expository writer, because eventually you're probably going to be in a situation where you're going to have to write marketing copy, and the AI marketing copy is shit, and you have to like add a few poetic weavings through to make it a little bit more eloquent sounding. And so you can, through the teaching, work with AI in a way that, okay, well, here's what the AI is, suggesting. How can we add flair to this? What are examples of, go through the trivium, like, okay, well, like the kids might need more examples in their research of like how to write a really good expository essay or whatever. And I'm sure teachers are doing this anyways, but just like I'm at a crossroads too, Ineka, as a teacher, where I'm just like the ultimate goal is like critical thinking, independent thinking, morality based learning, project based learning, all this good stuff. And it's like, how do I meld all of that in the landscape of AI? And it's like, I have ideas, right? And I'm like, we can't like ignore the AI is there. It's there. And like you said, we have to ascend in our pedagogical process to keep up. And maybe the curriculum we're working off of is too mechanistic. We're not supposed to be teaching kids this way, and just going through that shadow work process as educators of, okay, well, let's redefine the way we're approaching the curriculum, and let's and that's one thing that I've always really enjoyed about education as an educator, because I always feel like there's always like better ways of teaching people, adults or children or otherwise. So anyway, what do you guys think of this?
AI is not going anywhere. It might. It because depends on the energy. But I don't think they will. And try to look at it like an option to leap forward. I'm seeing like I'm a professional in what I do. I'm an art-based artist, and I dare to call myself an artist, although I'm not that professional, because all the rest are amateurs. And it's sad because they had no reason to be professional. I believe AI is here to give us the opportunity to be professional through stress testing, because AI can do it faster and it can reach the amateur level much faster and more efficiently. So the only way to beat AI is to be professional. I know AI cannot reach my level because it requires more detailed thinking. And what AI is doing is basically a puzzle. And so it cannot reach the level of having new ideas, which actually would mean that humanity will have to stop living in a framework of convenience and comfort, and they will have to think outside the box. And if they need a stress test in order for them to do that, so be it.
I have a question though. What I can imagine in that case, that many young people will not want to even try to beat AI, that they look at it like, oh, it's done for me. Okay, I'm good with that. I can see that kind of happening. So that part is a little concerning, because it would be great that we see it as, hey, okay, so now we want to be more professional, or we want to outdo the AI, or that's a machine. We're human. We have more to offer than the machine. And how can we show that? But I don't know if I don't see that very much in the population of youth that I work with. They're just, because they've been trained already to be very complacent. So it's concerning, but that's where we need to start and make a shift. That's important.
I cannot say it's concerning. Sorry, Jerry.
Keep going, Leo.
I cannot say it's concerning because it's something that happens when you shift. It's something that happened in the Industrial Revolution, where people did not need to generate screws anymore by themselves, and they just put it on a mold and let it happen automatically. And it is a form of shift from very closed-minded thinking to a more efficient way of thinking. So it's only natural. It happened before, and all of the people who wanted to keep on actually modeling screws got screwed.
Okay, so I can totally relate to what Enoch is saying, and unfortunately, when you're teaching young adults, they've been programmed in their formative years, a kind of learned helplessness, like for example, I was subbing in the private school that I work at for history, and I was trying to explain the trivium process and how you need to use multiple sources in your input process as you go through the logic, and then share the rhetoric of sharing the information with others, and but really just focusing on the input with the multiple sources, because sources can be biased, AI can be wrong, make mistakes, etc. And the idea of even the various hierarchies of evidence, right? Like you have like expert level, which is actually the lowest form of evidence, the highest form academically being described as a randomized control study, which I think isn't even that high because a lot of journals are compromised. I think the most highest form of evidence is direct experience, and that's what we're doing here. We're not telling people what to think. We're just sharing good ideas. And I think of this as a sort of like intergalactic salon. We're just discussing cool ideas. That's it. That we're not even, doesn't matter where they're from. But yeah, like with AI, like, I remember, Leo, you once gave us, it was in, I think, one of our after chats, so you probably didn't record, where you were like feed an AI false information and like analyze the mistakes that it makes. And like, oh, going back to the sub conversation, so like I was telling the kids, like, you're more powerful than AI. Like you can discern what sources to consider and not through your logical understanding process. You're more powerful. And they're like, no, we're not. And I'm like, yeah, you are, dude. Like, of course you are. Like, how can you not believe in yourself this early in your life? You're giving up on your the power that you have in your mind. Like, anyway.
Yeah, I see that a lot as well, but it's interesting what Leo's saying, that it's kind of part of the process, part of the evolution. So that's I'm glad to hear that from him. And we take that with what we're experiencing. That's a great idea about creating mistakes within the AI and pointing those out, or the fact that AI is being pulled from so many different sources, and that there are mistakes, and that's really important. I think Leo also suggested one time to me about um, uh, having students, like, let them cheat, let them use AI to formulate an argument and have a debate, in the class, and that would be so that you're using the AI. AI isn't going to do the debate, but they can use AI to, as resources, as tools, as what they are. But then the human piece is to those, to formulate that debate and go back and forth. And that's where we can introduce the trivium, right? With the fallacies and such.
Anything to add, Leo?
So one thing that I truly recommend, because we already made that mistake, and I'm seeing humanity slowly going to make that mistake as well. We let AI create music from patterns, and now they dominated the music industry to a point where it's no longer profitable to be a musician. So as a result, we have among 7 billion people, 12 bands. And yeah, basically music
Dude, you
industry fucked.
never told me this. Are you serious?
We're basically fucked. So I'm trying to save you the trouble. Because music is patterns and AI can dominate it. It doesn't require creativity. It's better with creativity, and you're going to lose a major part. And today we are at a point that, yeah, we have just 12 bands. And other than that, what we're doing is we are digitizing human music because it is better and it is equivalent to the rest of the 12 bands. And basically, AI music is so shit that you get that you don't want to hear it anymore after like 3-4 years of hearing just that everywhere. Just turn off the radio.
This is highly disturbing. I mean, in general, right? Like, I think the more that we can go back, incorporate ideas that worked, right? Like the concept of a liberal arts education, like using incorporating music, astronomy, like other sort of humanities fields. I mean, liberal arts colleges, not that I'm a huge proponent of folks going into immense amounts of debt for their education and degree to just pat themselves on the back and think that they're evolving when it's just not necessarily the case. But I think liberal arts education, for me anyway, I had a very broad education, and I have a now, because of that, of a holistic mind. And I just, the idea of music, like 12 bands in a population of your size, is just like, I don't know, just something just happened to me. I like, and it's emotion, right? It's emotion, because that's what music is really about. It's about conveying emotion. And an AI is not going to be effective at that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In AI's case, they destroyed it. They didn't make it better. So I mean, we made that mistake, and that now we're paying for it, and we're trying to go back on it. But once you get to a point where you let AI do it for 3-4 years, you will become dependent on it because all of the other bands and artists will quit and move to other stuff. And then you are going to be left with AI only, and then you're fucked. So I'm telling you, it's very hard to come back from it. Don't let it happen.
Ineka, do you have anything to add?
No, but not a whole lot, but I don't have a music background. I learned a little bit through my daughter because she took up the violin in third grade. She's been playing for 5 or 6 years, but and I learned to appreciate string instruments and learned quite a bit. But what you're saying, Leo, that's catastrophic, right? And I never even would have thought that it could go to that extent. So thank you for sharing that, because now that you mention it, I can totally see that happening now. So that's really important.
Yeah, as a person running a music festival, I in particular, it's okay if an artist wants to incorporate certain AI elements, but it needs to be mostly human, and there's a reason for that, because it's about, conveying. It's for humanity's consciousness. That's what makes us human. We're creative. We have feelings, we have emotions, and then we express them through art. And like, that's, I don't know. I just feel really sad right now hearing that that's what you guys are going through. Anyway, I don't want to be a downer, but did you want to add anything to that topic, Leo?
It can also happen to movie industry. It did happen to us, but our movie industry was pretty shit before that, so it's not like a big deal. And since music is a major part of humanity, while since the whole idea of why humanity and Pleiadians work together is that Pleiadians have a tendency, higher statistics in being intelligent, and humanity has a higher statistics in being creative. So to us, it's not a major loss as it is going to be for humanity.
Okay, on that note, let's answer some questions. So we have, can you guys speak on digital ID? I would like to hear your thoughts. Obviously, that's some Big Brother shit that I'm not into. I don't know. Not really much to say on that. Do you guys have any thoughts on that question?
I can say that it works for us very well. It makes things easier because basically our phone numbers are also our digital IDs. But it's bad for humanity because the ones issuing it are not thinking about the benefits. They're thinking about control.
Exactly. It's not about efficiency for businesses to render, services to clients or anything like that. It's basically for control. It's not being used probably in the way like if you guys have a similar system. It's not. It's to surveil the populace. So, yeah. Any other questions that folks have? Because if not, we had a whole lot of other topics that we didn't even touch on, really, because we just got off on this AI journey, which is fine. That's great. As people are figuring out what questions they want to ask, I wanted to make another brief announcement if anyone's joining now. Again, if anyone wants to join the next Equivalentics class starting July 5th, you can email ngtnarrow@gmail.com. And I am pleased to announce that Corey Endrelot, who's on the One Great Work Network and a dear friend of mine, I work with him on a bunch of food forest home schooling stuff. And then Rob Khalil from Typical Skeptic. Those two will be joining the next Equivalentics class. So we are literally networking through learning new ideas, and we're sharing new ideas with each other, and we're building bridges across communities. I've always kind of had my hat in many fields, and the more that I think we can create these cross community connections, the stronger we'll be as a collective. I'm willing to shake hands with anyone that asks questions, the big questions, and Rob's doing that, and so is Corey. So.
That's really exciting. I'm happy to hear that for them, and I'm sure they're going to get a lot out of it. It's great.
We have a sort of comment, I guess, here. $16 billion artificial data center project going up in Georgia. Yeah. Leo, do you want to talk about the energy cost of AI? Sorry, I didn't mean to mute myself. The energy cost of AI and what your civilization projects as a potential issue with the way humanity uses AI.
So one of the perks of having my camera closed, I can speak about those things that humanity was given, its leaders, was given the technology to build zero-point energy engines as sophisticated as we have right now. And we have been toning it and perfecting it and upgrading it for the past 300 years. You're getting like the newest version. Now, it was given to them in 2020. So far, they've done nothing about it. Now, the AI will come to a point where just in order to operate the simplest task as it evolves, it will require more energy that is consumed on the entire planet together. Which means that if they want to keep their precious AI, they will have to do something about finally creating that zero-point energy and stop being so greedy. And now I believe that there will become to a point where they will have to choose between their greedy and control over electricity versus AI. I just hope they make the right choice. But so it means that either AI is a trend that will not live through its full potential, or we'll see finally zero-point energy.
What do you think of all that, Ineka?
I mean, that could be, the breaking point. I mean, that could be something that if they're backed up against the wall, I mean, how can they yank that at this point when everybody becomes accustomed to it? I mean, what are they going to say? Like, I'm sure they can create something, but come on. Come on already. It just seems like they're going to be, it's like you said, if it's going to get to that point, I mean, it's time. I'd love to, it'd be great just to see it all, shift after that.
I really appreciate you guys sharing that information because we want to go that direction. Question: how many times has humanity been at this stage of advancement, or is this the farthest along we have been? Great question. What do you think, Leo?
Humanity by itself, I'd say furthest they have been, because there were other civilizations along history that tried to help humanity evolve, and they always met the same level of greed. For most civilization, it's a turnoff. Unfortunately, for humanity, the only civilization that actually likes that greed because they have the same thing are Greys. So if you want to have Greys leading humanity with you, be my guest, continue.
And, I've been kind of like pushing this talking point in the ET research space, but I'll say it again. Like, if you want to, you know, interact with benevolent, evolved civilizations, you got to start with morality. You got to start being moral. It's not a tagline. It's not a talking point. It's real. Like, Enoch and I have experienced a really awesome friendship with you, Leo, and you've been dealing with some pretty shitty humans. So anyway, any other questions, guys? Because we also could talk about, while people are deciding questions, I just sort of want to talk about different types of personality types. I think that the more we demonstrate acceptance of one another, not just as humans amongst each other, but also with other civilizations like yours, Leo. Like, there's always going to be, you know, sort of introverts out there, extroverts out there. I'm an ambivert, so I'm like exactly kind of half between both of those. And then we have otroverts, which I was recently introduced to as a type, which I will drop in the chat. And Leo, you were saying that you kind of relate to the otrovert, which is someone that kind of basically feels like an outsider. And we were talking in our sort of before we started recording that is it that you are that way, or is it that humanity has made you feel like an outsider due to a sense of projected shame because people can't just accept that there's like extraterrestrials here because it would just just break their own worldview.
Yes, it's a little bit of both. For once, there is the thing that the more open-minded civilization, they think opposite from humanity, and I know I've said it in many other lives, but it's still going. That we believe that everything until proven otherwise, while humanity believes only when things are being proved. And the thing is that it is very easy to fabricate proof. And I know how to do that, and I just won't resort to that because I am firmly against lying. While all of the other disclosure agencies, they are not against lying. They have been lying for so long. What's another lie? So they will be able to provide fabricated proof, and I will not, because I will simply not resort to that. Now, trying to fabricate a disproof, it's not possible. So that's how you just kind of, if you believe everything until proven otherwise, first you're more open to new ideas, and second, you're harder to be fooled. And so if something is not consistent, this is a disproof. And that's like, no one will aim for that on purpose. No one's saying. And now for the other part, I'm looking at people in the streets treating each other like shit, um, like trying to cancel them, trying to tell them what to do, um, making a racket out of everything, completely disregarding other people's existence in the roads, on the streets, in their homes, and I say that I just don't want to be a part of it because I know there's a better way, and all it needs is a change of perspective to stop thinking about yourself and start living in a society. And I just don't want to be a part of it. So, in a way, it comes from the inability to be open for the fact that extraterrestrial exists. And the second is that I just don't really want to feel like I am part of them because their life are not fulfilled and they're doing it entirely to themselves. Now, add to that the leaders of humanity that are not very thinking about humanity, plus humanity not thinking about itself. It's a cycle of destruction that I just rather not be part of.
Yeah, I totally get that. I for one, I'm working through I think, I'm really grateful for the friendship that we have, and just to sort of put a lighter spin on the conversation, like I think the more, people that your side, our side bring into this, that are evolved, we can just demonstrate to everyone else what acceptance and care looks like. Do you have anything to add, Inika?
Yeah, I'm thinking about like how it's like become the norm to be this way. And it's just like accepted that like people rip each other off, people lie. It's no big deal. Like you said before, like what's one more lie? So that's, I can understand how you feel, Leo, and I'm sorry for that. If I were you, I would feel the same way. And I think people use politics right now to demonstrate morality in a way. So like if you're a conservative, you're demonstrating morality through like freedom, quote unquote freedom, and capitalism. Or if you're on the left, it's about equity and equality among gender and races. And it's like that's how you're kind of viewed. And that's what people hide behind to kind of demonstrate or portray themselves as being moral or immoral. But at the end of the day, we're all saying the same thing. We can be moral. It's really not that simple. I mean, it's really not that difficult. We don't have to hide behind these different identities, like you started this part of our segment here in identity, in our identities. If we could just like remove politics from these conversations and we just talk about what we're all aiming for, I think we can get a lot further. So, yeah, morality is tied to everything, and it's not that difficult. And if we can, we're just like so obsessed with and closed-minded with the way that we've been living. It's like people don't even dare to think anything different. And I just don't see how we're going to get out of this unless people just start to just loosen up and just like chill out, and we can just be respectful. We all know how to do that, and it's common sense. And yeah.
I'm just like shaking my head, shrugging. I'm like, it should be common sense. I wrote in my pre-show notes here, yeah, we talked about acceptance, open-mindedness, just also just being present, right? Like not immediately judging another person or being just being present. And I think we've all done that with each other as friends, and um, through presence. There is no there's an acceptance automatically in that, and it's not about um, just taking everything in with no grain of salt, no skepticism whatsoever, but it's just you're just lightly holding things in your hand. You're not throwing it away, but you're not like clinging on to it either. In terms of like new ideas. We have a question here. Does anyone else want to add before we go to the question? Sorry, Leo, Ineka.
Just
Okay.
like if you are it's being skeptical. I'm extremely skeptical. Being skeptical in the possibility that you can be lied to, especially here, that not everyone wants your benefit, and like I mean you already know it. So like there was another question like in the chat about what do you think about government disclosure? Well, what do you think about government? Do you trust the government? Why do you trust their disclosure? So it is not about not being skeptical, but it is not allowing the government to continue to manipulate you by simply giving them a different view. And I'm not telling anyone to take me as a guru or as an authority. Always show different perspectives. And the more perspectives you've seen, the more firm your perception of reality becomes.
Ineka, do you have anything to add to that? Cool. Yeah, I just view you like a I respect you like a college professor. You studied a lot, and I like learning what you learned. There's no guru anything in that. I used to, be afraid that, like with teachers that have taught me, like, is that an authority? But I realized, like, no, it's not an authority. It's just someone that's spent more time learning something and wants to share what they learned. That's all that it boils down to. There's no need for hierarchy in that. Have y'all heard of the Kyle Odom reptilian shapeshifter pastor story? If not, very interesting and tragic at the same time. While we were chatting, I did look it up on Perplexity, where it's about a former U.S. Marine and college graduate who in 2016 shot a pastor believing he was a reptilian shapeshifter, later published a lengthy manifesto describing alleged encounters with amphibious/Martian reptilian beings. He was arrested and later sentenced after being found mentally ill. Well, I don't know too much about that, but yeah, I'm not sure what to say about that. I mean, whether it's true or not, that's sad that that happened, I guess. I don't know. Lio, Ineka?
Definitely makes me want to come forward now as an alien.
Why?
No, I'm being sarcastic.
Oh. I was like, I would think it's the opposite. Yeah. Yeah, that sucks. Don't trust, just wondering why now they release with more to come. Okay. I get what your question is. You're actually asking about the timing of the agenda. That's a better question than I would say they want to distract from the war. So they're going to like have a bunch of like UFO shit come out, and then everyone's going to get all excited about that and turn their heads this way while they do shit on the other side of things. I mean, I would think.
Not only.
Okay.
It's because we had enough to wait for them. I'm not the only one speaking with humanity. And I think they just want to confuse everyone so they won't actually listen to us because we're not speaking very fondly of them. Because we have been dealing with the leaders of humanity for a long time. And let's just say that we're not very happy.
What I'm hearing is that because of the grassroots disclosure movement that's happening with, beings like you talking to everyday humans like us, that's why they're kind of acting up on the government agenda end of things.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Maybe that's not the only reason. Maybe it's also to kind of throw you off on the war. But they could have started before the war because it's not like they didn't know that war is coming. They plan everything.
There does seem to be a sort of movement towards. I wasn't expecting anyone from Rob's channel to be on here because like I know that he was streaming, so I didn't want to compete with his audience. But anyway, there seems to be a movement towards connecting the government disclosure with like religion, where it's like a 1-2 punch of like control, where you get now like Jesus is like in a UFO or some shit. Like they're trying to like combine them into this like world governmental religion. Is anyone else seeing that either in the chat or Ineka, Lio? Do you see that happening?
No, actually, it's the first time hearing about it.
Oh, it's definitely a thing. If anyone's in the ET research community that wants to back me up on this narrative so that I don't look like I'm crazy. But anyway, I'm talking to an ET. That's already the case. I accept what is. Anyway. And I'm proud of it. I'm proud to be your friend, Leo. And I think it's bullshit that like
Oh,
I
thank
don't
you.
think we don't have to hide you. Like fuck those people that are gonna be fucking judgmental. So
Thank you.
anyway. Aw, thank you, Miri. Miri's a friend of mine. I went to Confluence with her. I'm wearing a Confluence t-shirt, and I still have to upload all the videos from Confluence. Confluence is a really great truth and freedom festival that I went to. They have a lot of like alternative health stuff. I think they're a great community to connect to. I'm just trying to, in these sort of cross community sort of alliances that I'm trying to build, we're all on the same page usually of either government is slavery. We're usually on the same page of, objective morality and freedom. And if they don't have the vocabulary with that it's easily taught. And in the ET research community, right? Like, it's not like they're not aware of government black projects going on. Like we all can be a part of humanity's evolution. We all these different little communities that we're in. And it's like, I'm not like a robot. Like I'm totally into alternative health. I'm also into regenerative gardening. I had a long conversation with Ineka the other day about gardening. Like, I mean, we can be part of many communities and that's okay. Anyway. Me and Rob have been good friends for years. I know when you were a guest on his stream, lots of people, oh, yeah, totally. We did. We're going to try to do something with Rob. I really like Rob's energy.
What's a panel stream?
A live stream with a panel, like how we're doing now. We're doing a panel stream, Leo.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I'm honored to do it with both of you. There would be no Equivalentics class without students like you, Ineka. So I'm so glad you said yes.
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking about it after you called me this afternoon. I wasn't sure if I could make it, but I was thinking about you, and I was like, I definitely wanted to be here. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I have my hands in a lot of projects, admittedly, and like, does my shit come off super professional? Maybe not, but I'm just trying to put shit out there. I'm trying to like inspire other people to do what we're doing, is just create, cross community connections, because we're not, cookie cutters usually. Usually we have like, we're part of many communities and we can all do this. We can all build networks and alliances and connections and friendships and share good ideas amongst each other. And yeah,
and just show up for each other, right?
Mm.
And I know you've got a lot of different projects, and I mean, you're a great role model for people to see that the little, as you could do as little as you need to, or as much as you like. And you're very busy. You great energy, Jerry, and I admire you so much as well, for everything, all the efforts that you've been putting in. So it's great.
And I appreciate you, Ineka, because like I said, like I've actually, well, I don't think I ever mentioned this in a live, but I'll mention it now. I did try to introduce Leo at a time with people and it did not go well. And I started losing hope in humanity. I was like, well, if I'm bringing Leo to a community that is supposedly spiritually evolved and they're acting in this way, like what hope does humanity have, right? And you give me hope.
Oh, thanks, Jerry. I'm happy to be a part of it. And I'm getting so much out of the experience that I couldn't not show up for you tonight. You guys have done so much for me, so you're always there for me when I have questions, and it never ends. Like, you guys are just, constantly but just showing your support in us, right? So I wanted to be a part of that tonight. You put your ask out, but yeah, just, we've gotten so much out of this, that just changing our perspective and how we look at our lives. And Leo's mentioned it, I think in our one of our first conversations, just keeping things simple, that we tend to overthink things. And Equivalentics, in a very strange sort of way, makes you realize that we don't know we don't know a whole lot, but can also be very simple if you sit with it long enough.
Yeah, let's have some closing thoughts. Leo, do you have any sort of concluding thoughts? Well, Leo.
Well,
Yep.
not really.
I want to just share gratitude with both of you for joining me in the one great work. I really feel I know I can do a lot on my own, but I feel stronger when I know that I'm working with others. And so you both inspire me in many ways, different ways, and I'm honored to be friends with both of you.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored too.
Thank you, Jerry. Same here, for sure.
All right. So thanks for everyone in the chat. We'll check you out next time. We'll try to do this once a week. Ineka, if you're free, we'd love to have you again. Woo Riders DG, if you want to hit up me or Leo, and if you're friends with Rob, we're on Telegram. So message us. How do we so you could join us or email us at this email, Woo Riders, since you're friends with Rob anyway, and we can meet you and talk to you IRL.
We will definitely come back on Rob's channel. That's planned.
Right. But like we should have, people like Woo Riders DG to join ours too, I think. As well.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I'm open to everyone.
Hooray. Okay, good. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye.